particular part of Connecticut right now. And usually we have twice as many mushrooms as you see here. Sometimes we have 40 or 50 species of boletes in this one day. That is not happening because of the weather patterns this year. So I have my stopwatch here because some people love the sound of their own voice so much that they will talk on and on and on, and I'm talking about myself. So I have my stopwatch, and I can actually babble on forever, but I don't want to do that. I want.
No, you teach, you don't babble.
Thank you, Terry. What Terry said is correct. What you said. So, I'll talk for a little while, and then Terry will talk, and then Walt will talk, and then Beth will talk, and we'll take turns. Connie will go around the table, and everybody will say a little bit about the collection, and that way you get a little taste, a little dose of everybody's speaking style, and a little bit about the mushrooms. So, the first thing I want to say is nice going with this collection, really nice collection here in dry conditions. We found some spectacular things. I want to draw your attention over there to my little magnifier stand is a really beautiful member of the cordyceps family. Cordyceps are fungi that attack false truffles and insects mostly. That cordyceps that Robert found is absolutely spectacular. It's in the genus Iceria, and I don't know the specific one it is yet, but if Robert posts that on our website or on Facebook, we'll find out which one it is. I'll send it to Kathy Hodges, and she's an expert in that. So, beautiful. Make sure you take a look at that one over there. I'm going to talk a little bit about name changes. Boo, name changes, boo. We hate name changes. So you don't have to learn new names. There's no reason to learn the new Latin names unless you're interested in the story of evolution, because every name change is another chapter in the story of our understanding of what evolution is and how the evolutionary changes in fungi occurred over a long period of time. And are my 3 minutes up yet? No. And how by studying the molecular structure of the little lengths of DNA and comparing the base pairs to other ones, we can tell who's related to whom. Is that right, Kate?
Yes, that's right.
All right, I'd have to look for an English teacher. Yeah. So who's related to whom? And by learning that, we can learn about the evolution of fungi. If you don't care about the evolution of fungi, you care about not killing yourself with a poisonous mushroom, or which ones are edible and what are their names, that's fine. We use old names. And I'll show you an example. So Andy was nice enough to label this Polyporus mori. And so because it's in one book called Polyporus mori. But for years, we called it Polyporus alveolaris. And it has beautiful hexagonal pores. It's a wood decay fungus. It's decaying this birch, this piece of birch right here. And then someone decided, well, it really doesn't belong in Polyporus or Polyporus. Let's give it a new name. It belongs in the tropical species Favolis. So we call it Favolis alveolaris. And then about a year ago, someone wrote a paper about this mushroom, and they said it really isn't that closely related to Favolis, the genus of tropical wood decay mushrooms with hexagonal pores. It's really something completely different, even though it looks like it. So now they call this Neofavolis alveolaris. Do we care? Not really. But it is part of the story of evolution, and if you like that story, then jump aboard Mushroom Observer and the internet, and every week you'll see new name changes, on and on and on. All right, so I've been talking for about 20 seconds. According to my stopwatch. I just want to show you a couple boletes. You ready?
Yep.
For boletes? All right, here's a bolete. Anybody recognize this bolete? So this bolete just exploded. This is the poison pigskin puffball. I said it's a bolete. Well, it's really in the family Boletales. Molecular studies have shown that this mushroom is an underground form of one of our regular boletes. We all know that the boletes, what we call boletes, are fleshy, pored fungi. Instead of having gills underneath, they have pores. All these families of mushrooms, like the Boletales family, they can have puffball forms, they can have subterranean forms, they can have coral forms. A lot of times you'll find that a coral mushroom is much more closely related to a bolete than it is to another coral mushroom. It's completely counterintuitive, but it happens to be the way things occurred over time. So for the boletes now, we have lots and lots of different genera here. We have Gyroporus for the chestnut bolete. We have Boletus edulis for the most famous of all the boletes, porcini or cep, or all those things all over Europe that they call a porcini mushroom, or Boletus king bolete is a good name for it. Eventually, all these boletes on the table will be in a genus that's not Boletus anymore. All the boletes will just be the Boletus edulis group and the Boletus veripes group. Those are the boletes with little tiny white pores that are stuffed when the mushroom is young, and then that little stuffing in the pores dissolves. All the other boletes, like Boletus longicurvipes, it needs a new genus. What else do we have? What other? Boletus sensibilis, the curry bolete, the one that smells like curry and it stains blue. This needs a new genus. All the way across the board, this is going to happen. This bolete, which used to be called Tolopolis exaimus, has its own genus now, and there's only 2 different mushrooms in the whole genus, Sutorius. This is going to happen all the way down the table to every genus you see. Terry studies Lactarius. They've already split Lactarius in 2. Terry, did you hear that? They split Lactarius into Lactarius and Lactofluus. We are not going to do that here.
I'm not.
Terry's not going to do that. And so I'm going to hand the conversation over to Terry, our expert in Lactofluus. My 3 minutes are up.
I don't think it's fair. I still think he's the best teacher and he always goes first, and then we have to try and live up to that. Is that fair?
That's why I don't
Terry,
talk.
you're the nicest speaker.
Live up to that, fella.
No argument from me.
All the Lactarius the Lactarius genus is related to the Russula species. Their cell structure is quite different from a lot of other mushrooms. They break up very easily. I remember attending a 40 many years ago where the instructor of the day took the Russula and threw it against a tree to show that it would just fall apart. Yeah. It breaks very, very easily, chalky. And Lactarius are related to that. The difference between the two is that Lactarius is called that because it lactates. It'll give liquid. Especially if it's very fresh. Some of the smaller species, like this size mushroom, sometimes they dry very easily because they're so small. There's so little flesh there, and you may have a hard time getting latex from that unless you have a very fresh species. Lactarius volimus is will give a lot of latex usually. I'm not sure whether it will today, but. This is easy to recognize. It's very orangey color. It's one of the very few good edible species of the Lactarius. If you make a cut on the gills, it should produce milk, and you can see that it does here. You get white latex from this, or white milk, and called voluminous, I think, because it gives volumes of milk, because if I hold it up, you can see it drip after a few, sometimes immediately. try to make it live up to what it's supposed to do.
Right.
You don't remember your role, do you?
Didn't read the book.
And if you taste the latex on any Lactarius, it will help you identify the species. For instance, if you taste the latex of this one, put it on your tongue, and then wait about a minute, a few seconds, depends on which mushroom you're tasting, which latex you're tasting. It'll be either very mild, or bitter, or slightly peppery, or extremely peppery. If you take this, they're such lousy specimens.
Yeah.
If you take this Lactarius, the gills are so close together when it's young that it looks solid. Wow. It's Lactarius piperatus. And if you make a cut on the gills, you'll get white latex again, white liquid will come out. And if you taste it and put it on your tongue, it will be very peppery. And if anybody doubts me and wants to try it, that's up to you. But one time, my name for short should be SA for smartass, because I would challenge people to taste it frequently, and one time it left a blister on my tongue for 2 days. So I don't do that anymore. It's up to you if you want to try it. But this one, the latex sometimes changes color, and that also helps you to identify it. You can see where a little piece was broken off here and it turned green. Quite green. Blue-green. And where I cut it here and the milk is coming out, that might take 15 minutes, maybe even half an hour. When it dries, it should be green, like this spot on the edge of the cap where the piece was broken off. So that's Lactarius piperatus, and its variation glossescens. Here we have Lactarius. This is one that we rarely find. And if it's growing under hardwoods and a little bit more pinky tones in it, it's probably growing under hardwoods. I decided that this is representaneous and was picked from under the conifers here because it's a little yellower. The gills are a little whiter, closer to cream. And it stains, the latex on this one comes out white at first. It doesn't have a whole lot, but it will come out white. And then it stains lavender. And you don't want to taste or eat any, you can taste it, but spit it out. Any of those that stain lavender are toxic, so you should never eat any of those that stain lavender like this.
Terry, can you point out the zones on the cap?
The zones, yes. That Lactarius, I think, is the only mushrooms other than polypores with zones like this on top. Concentric zones on top of the cap. Circle.
And what's that species?
Representaneous. But this one does have concentric circles. I've been asked sometimes, even on Facebook, how do you know it's a Lactarius? Hey, it's got zones like this on top. It has to be a Lactarius.
Are they growth plants?
Pardon?
No, it's all coming up at once.
Some of them have odors too. Here's one that's beautiful, pure white, almost white, cream color. And if you make a cut on the gills, the latex comes out white and stains yellow almost immediately. See, it's staining yellow already? Mm-hmm. This is Lactarius chrysareus. Sometimes it has more zoning on the top, but it doesn't have a whole lot today. Very yellow. My 3 minutes up?
Okay, your 3 minutes are up.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Terry. That was great. Lactarius, really a fascinating group to study. And so if you're interested in Lactarius, you should hang around with Terry and follow her lead. And this is really a great opportunity if you want to learn particular genera to hang around with the resident experts. And everybody has different expertise a little bit across the board. But if you want to learn, that's the way to do it. Hang around the identification table. Walt, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, real quick. I'll do a 3-minute minus, okay?
Oh, no.
On desperate
That's
dry
edible.
days, what do? You look for wet
That's
things.
not.
You go to wet spots.
This
you
is
go
not, that's much too peppery.
Stumps. A stump soaks
This
up
is the
a
only
couple
one on
pounds
there
of
that
water,
I
whatever. I found almost everything that I was pulling back from a stump, including corals are always a problem for us. We can sometimes see these big meaty Romaria, big fellows like that and all. We often have these little little corals around that we kind of don't know them. They're hard to do and all. But we have this one, Clavulina cristata is the one of the corals that you'll see growing on wooden wet stumps. It's a white little thing, and it has little tiny, not little horns on the top like the what we used to call Clavicorona pixidata with the little boxes on it, but just little crispy spikes on it. It's called Clavulina cristata. There's another one like it called Cinerea that's gray in color. I'm sitting there thinking, God, I can't find nothing on it. Sit on this stump. Ah, here's my Clavulina. Pull up the Clavulina. It's not really white. It's not really gray. What is this? Ah, good. I got 2 mushrooms. Fine. Because what I was finding is clean little Clavulina cristatas all around, but they had a kind of little bluish gunky stuff around the bottom. Some others were sitting there, oh look, maybe I got Cinerea here, it's getting kind of gray. But then I don't have a great collection, there were some more, but they got kind of knocked around. What I really have is a clean Clavulina cristata growing on the wood, as it should, grows from wood. And I have a parasite, or epiphyte, or whatever is growing on it. It's an ascomycete, well, it's a different type of fungus that is growing over and infecting it. And this one I think is it's very specific. It's Helminthosporia clavarii or so is the one that grows. And I see it in various stages. I'll put it over next to, but not under the lens of the Asaria display so you can see it, because you have to look at it. But you don't have a nice gray Clavulina with a gray form up there, fairly smooth gray with little spikes on the top. You have various amounts of this gray material growing on it. So this is another thing that's growing onto a fungal substrate, and it's quite specific. This has been long well known, and I really do believe we see a case from the white ones to ones that are various degrees affected by it. So there's a lot of other things where you have a fungus growing with another growing on it. This is our old friends, the Ganoderma, the Tsugii. Whoa, what's happening here? Okay, now this